Hi folks, I'm Ross Cavett in the Cobb TV studios with Chairman Mike Boyce for our weekly chat. And Chairman, the minds of many people across the country and of course here in Cobb County are on what happened in Florida at the high school last week, and it's prompted some soul searching.
Oh, absolutely, not just soul searching, but it needs to, we needed to go beyond the soul searching and to make sure that we completely look at this issue with a fresh set of eyes. I called the Cobb County School District Superintendent today, Chris Ragsdale, and told him that, look, if there's something that we should be doing more in joint with each other, more partnership with each other, we need to be making sure that we've looked at every aspect of this. This has gone beyond taking for granted anymore. This is not just, you hope and pray it doesn't happen to you. This is us now, and this is a reality. We got to face this reality. We've got to acknowledge this reality. And it's not a simple program, it's not a simple issue to address, but we have to acknowledge that it exists, the potential's there, and as we saw in so many different places, it only takes one person to make this big impact. So I'll be working real hard with the county manager, our public safety director, Sam Heaton, to ensure, and as well with Chris Ragsdale, to ensure that we're doing all that we can to address this issue of public safety for the future of our country, which is our children.
And the school district has their own police department and their own security plans, but the county plays a pretty big role in what happens in our schools. Yeah,
the danger we make in government is we get into silos. So we can always say, well, that's not my job, that's not my responsibility. Hey, our kids are all our responsibility. And we can't fall back on that old adage, well, that's not my job. It's our job to take care of our kids. And I don't care where you work, who you work for, we need to be in this together. So I'll be working real hard, like I said, with Chris to make sure that we're prepared for as many scenarios as we can be. The lone wolf gunman is always going to be there, and that's a horrible thing to say, but it's a reality, and I'm going to deal with the reality. So I think you'll be hearing more about that. And it's also a good time to mention that Chief Register continues his remarkable new innovative techniques of trying to build relationships with the community. He's holding another faith forum here in the near future. And that's just another example of kind of out-of-the-box thinking we have with our public safety department, which is why I'm confident when it involves, particularly of Cobb, or in the case of active shooters, not just in our school district or anywhere, that we're looking at whole new ways of bringing new tools to this business and making public safety our number one priority.
And when you talk about silos as well and working with the school district, it also involves the community as well.
Absolutely.
And getting that input in.
Yeah, we need to, again, we're working real hard, as you know, on communicating more with the public, letting them know what's out there. And the challenge we face in today's world is that, people get their information from different sources and we can't tap into all of them. I was reading an article in Wired magazine this month talking about the challenge that Facebook has, with how they're using that platform, in a very violent manner or an offensive manner. And it was interesting as I read the article, all these different media, social media outlets that I've never even heard of, but yet the millennials know about these. And we in government, we're not the young kids, we're the older guys. And the world is changing very fast today. So we have to do a better way to stay on top of this. And we as a government maybe need to be looking at new ways to make sure that we're staying abreast and fresh with all that's out there to keep our public informed.
Yeah, when I think I'm starting to get hip, all of a sudden I hear something new and different that, like you said, people use to communicate that we have no idea it exists.
Right. Well, I visited my grandboys last week and I took some time off. Of course they're great kids, but they live by the iPhone. And I was sitting next to a young lady on the airplane who was clearly much younger than me, and she spent her whole time scrolling down on her iPhone there, looking at online shopping events. So. We need to make sure that the world we're dealing with, as much as we can, that we're doing our responsibility to protect the public. And that means we have to step back here and perhaps relook at how we're using our government to make sure that we're staying informed with the people.
Well, along the lines of difficulty of communicating, I know you and the board and others here in the county have been watching down at the Gold Dome what goes on with regional transit and transportation. And what have you learned is the latest with that, and what should we be looking out for?
Well, it's real sausage being made. The old adage about you don't want to eat a hot dog, if you ever see how it's made. Now, the beauty of our system is that you have an idea, you lay it out there, it exposes it to daylight, and then you let people comment on it. And last year, my whole first year was focused on trying to get the board to work together in a common direction to achieve certain goals. So I didn't really have a lot of time to spend on issues at the Gold Dome. And frankly, last year, we didn't have a lot of issues last year that needed my attention. That was, looking back, that was probably a good thing, because I don't know that I had time to have done both. But this year, I have spent a lot of time talking to members of the delegation on both sides of the political line. I also read the comments in various media outlets. And this has been one that has come back to life again. We all know that not transit, and the issue is, how do you define transit, all right? Is it just rail? Is it buses? Is it surface transportation? So my sense is, having talked to several members of both of the delegation on both the House and the Senate side, is that there's not a lot of support for the current House legislation or the Senate one, because it goes to the issue what I talked about 2 weeks ago, is that there's an danger that we're going to lose sovereignty over our rights here in the county, particularly about how we spend our money. Like I said, this is a very conservative county. People want to have direct input into how their money's spent. And the map as it was drawn broke the region into 10 districts. And those 10 districts broke Cobb up into 3 different areas. And then project lists had to be submitted to this area-wide board to be approved. And as the legislators apparently got into the wording of the legislation on both sides, the sovereignty issue kept coming back more and more. So what I'm hearing informally is that right now both those pieces of legislation, as currently written, are going to face some difficult challenges being supported by our delegation, but by members of our delegation. Because I don't want to speak for all the members out there. There's a lot of them. But having said that, no matter what happens out of this session of the Gold Dome, we have to, as a board, attack this issue. We have to directly address it and start coming up with some ideas as to address both surface transportation issues, traffic management issues, traffic direction issues, bus issues. You know, how do we move people around this county? And we're going to have to probably put together something where we're going to have to go to the voters and say, look, we hear your pain, but we're not going to relieve you from some of that pain without an added cost. And I know this is just another litany of, oh my gosh, there he goes again asking for more money. But ladies and gentlemen, it's that we're in the perfect storm, okay? We all know there are issues surrounding the budget, and we've been very open about that we arrived at this situation not without prior knowledge that we were going to come to this hole, all right? And I know people like to blame the Braves, but the Braves were just part of the issue. There was a bigger issue before the Braves were considered. But the traffic management, the traffic issues are just as daunting, and we were elected to make the hard calls. So this year, whatever comes out of the legislation from the Dome, Gold Dome, we're going to have to follow up with that and start putting something together and engage the public as to what it is we think we can do to solve some of the traffic issues. But let's be very clear about this. I've traveled all over the world in areas from Tokyo to Paris to Cairo, and there is no one-stop solution for traffic problems. People like their cars, all right? And there's only so many roads you can build. So what we will do is we'll address some of the issues, but let's not go around telling ourselves that there is a magic pill that's going to solve our traffic woes. Behavior patterns and how we get to work, how we do, where we work at, those all have to play in also about addressing the infrastructure, support cars and buses, you know, and other systems that may be in our future.
So the conversation's underway.
And it's going to be a long going, and it's going to be one like everything else we've done around here. It's going to be noisy, but it's going to involve the public. And out of that, we're going to come up with the right solution. You
and I had a chance to go down to you talk about traffic, an area that was really looked at intensely when it came to traffic.
Right.
Battery, Atlanta, down near SunTrust Park, and tour the new Comcast headquarters. Right. And we saw some things down there that surprised, I think, both of us about what's going on down there and how that area is progressing.
You know, if I ever felt old before, I felt really old yesterday. Because as I walked into that building, first of all, I was struck by the youth of the workforce, by the passion of the workforce, by the diversity of the workforce. and the fact that I didn't see one book in that whole building. It was all iPads and laptops, people with, with multi-screens. And it reminds me of what Warren Buffett said about his confidence in America, because he says we have all these incredible young men and women out there that are really to deliver our future. He also said that one day is that we never even realized it, but by keeping women out of the workforce, we cut our human intellect capacity by 50%. Well, what's happened now is that America has finally got the idea that everybody should have access to the same opportunity to succeed. And I saw that at Comcast yesterday. And I saw the future. And I also was reaffirmed of the vision of the Braves and Comcast and these other venues down there about why the Battery, not just the stadium, all right? The stadium was, the foothold for it, but it's the Battery and all those venues around that are really the future of Cobb. Because there's 900 people that are going to work in that building. And it reflects some of the other businesses that I see around here that are bringing equally high-paid, incredibly educated young men and women to this county, like the Georgia Tech Research Institute that's going to be built out at Lockheed right this year, and it'll be open next year. The Delta Community Credit Union that brought 300 employees to this county, maybe more. And so what it does is that it gives me confidence, as I've said during the State of the County address, that these venues will in fact bring the revenue that will allow us finally to remove the tax burden from the taxpayer of what it is we're paying for this partnership, all right? The challenge we had in the past, we just simply didn't tell the people about the upfront cost. But there's always an upfront cost for success in the future. I can replace a lot of people in a lot of jobs with software, but you still have to have the upfront cost to build the software and train people and put in the hardware that goes with that. But yesterday, I saw 21st Century Cobb, and I would tell anybody in a heartbeat that that's an exciting, it just reaffirms why Cobb County is an exciting place to live, and it's a great time to be alive in America and in Cobb.
You talk about feeling old. I got the impression that this is a group of people who want to live, work, and play in the same area.
Absolutely, and highlights the beginning of our conversation, safely.
Right.
And that's our responsibility as a county.
Okay. A lot of things moving parts in Cobb County, as it always is. Again, subscribe to all our different ways of communication, even some we don't even know about yet. And please do that and continue to monitor Cobb TV and our YouTube channel for our next conversation with Chairman Boyce next week. In the meantime, have a good day.